was just someone who doesn't give up. Your dad said that. He was right. Now it's your turn. Go be a hero, Miles.
Okay, let's do this.
2026. Take a moment and really look at the gaming landscape. We've got photorealistic VR, AI-driven NPCs that remember your choices, consoles with more computing power than the Apollo 11 mission. And somehow, with all of that progress, my mind keeps drifting back to a snowy New York from 6 years ago. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Back in 2020, this was the shiny new thing for the PS5. A launch title, a showcase game. People called it a tech demo. They called it a glorified expansion. Some even called it unnecessary. But looking at it now, through the lens of 2026, it's clear this game was never meant to be massive. It was meant to be personal. Because this wasn't just a bridge between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. This was the moment Miles Morales stopped being the other Spider-Man and became the Spider-Man for a whole new generation. Before we dive into Venom Blasts, Winter Drip that absolutely did not age well, and the legendary levels of secondhand embarrassment, quick YouTube stuff. Hit the like button, drop a comment telling me your all-time favorite Spider-Man suit, and subscribe to the channel. We do deep dives like this every week, and having you in the neighborhood genuinely makes the grind worth it. Alright, let's get into it. To understand why this game matters, we have to go back to 2018, Miles' first playable appearance in Marvel's Spider-Man. And look, let's be honest, he was a hard sell. In that game, Miles felt like a side quest with legs. He existed mostly to slow things down. Those stealth missions where you couldn't fight back, where you were just a kid in a hoodie hiding behind crates. In a game about power fantasy, they felt like speed bumps. When you're swinging between skyscrapers as Peter Parker, being forced to play as normal human Miles felt like the game tapping the brakes with both feet. At the time, a lot of players felt Miles was forced. Like Insomniac was checking a box. He was grieving. He was unsure. He constantly leaned on Peter, calling him, texting him, asking for approval. He didn't have confidence. He didn't have swagger. And some people genuinely worried he'd just become Peter Parker light. Same animation, same role, different face. That's why the 2020 solo game was such a gamble, because it had to answer one uncomfortable question. Does New York actually need two Spider-Men? Today, in 2026, the answer feels obvious. Yes. But back then, we needed proof. And Insomniac understood something crucial. Miles couldn't start as perfect. We needed to see him mess up, miss swings, trip on landings, make bad calls. Because Miles isn't a replacement, he's a response. The game finally stops treating him like a tag-along and starts treating him like a protagonist. He doesn't wear the mask because Peter says so. He wears it because Harlem needs him, specifically. Even now, this game still looks incredible. Insomniac's Winter New York is peak cozy gaming. Snow sticking to rooftops, Christmas lights glowing in Harlem, steam rising from subway grates. There's warmth in the cold. Back in 2020, we obsessed over ray tracing. In 2026, that's just baseline. What really holds up is the art direction, the color contrast, the lighting, the atmosphere. This city feels alive even when nothing is happening. And then there's movement. Miles does not move like Peter. Peter swings like a gymnast, controlled, precise, efficient. Miles? Miles is raw energy. He flails his arms, throws unnecessary flips, overcorrects midair. Sometimes he looks cool, sometimes he barely sticks the landing. And that's intentional. That lack of polish is baked directly into the animations. If you play Spider-Man 2 and come back to this, you can feel the growth. In 2020, Miles was all enthusiasm, no discipline. He was basically a Subway Surfer protagonist with spider powers. Now let's talk about the story. Or as I like to call it, the battle of the high school science fair projects. The game opens strong. Rhino escapes, chaos everywhere. Peter gets knocked out, conveniently, and Miles is forced to take control. This is where Venom powers enter the picture. Bioelectricity, the ultimate panic button. It's flashy, it's overpowered, and it instantly sets Miles apart. But the real story isn't about explosions. It starts quietly, at a dinner table. Finn Mason, Miles' best friend, his basically sister, and of course, she's also the Tinkerer, leader of the underground. And here's where hindsight hits hard. The villain reveal is not subtle at all. It's practically screaming at you. And the game desperately wants you to sympathize with Finn, but her logic falls apart fast. They killed my brother with unstable energy, so I'll use even more unstable energy to destroy a city block. Motive? Strong. Execution? Saturday morning cartoon. Miles spends the entire game trying to save her, talk her down, reason with her, while she's actively trying to cave his skull in. It's frustrating, but it's also consistent. Miles believes in people, sometimes too much, and that's his greatest strength and his biggest flaw. Now we have to address it. The dialogue. The legendary cringe. Genki Lee, the guy in the chair. In 2020, this dialogue felt painfully forced. In 2026, it's a time capsule. No cap. That was epic. For the culture. Is it awkward? Absolutely. But it's also real. Teenagers are awkward. If you don't cringe at your younger self, you're not evolving. And Genki's app? That's what grounds Miles. Peter is New York Spider-Man. Miles is Harlem Spider-Man. He helps people who know his name. That's the difference. Combat is where Miles fully comes into his own. Peter fights tactically, gadgets, positioning, efficiency. Miles fights emotionally, explosively. Venom powers turn combat into controlled chaos. You build energy, release it, clear the room. It feels incredible and slightly broken, which is kind of the point. Camouflage is even worse. You press a button, you vanish. Enemies immediately forget you exist. In 2020, it felt cool. In 2026, it's hilarious. Is it balanced? Not really. Is it fun? Absolutely. Side content deserves credit too. The friendly neighborhood Spider-Man app, small stories, local problems, helping people shovel snow, recovering stolen items, saving pets. They're simple missions, but they reinforce the fantasy. Miles isn't fighting for headlines. He's fighting for people who know his name. We also need to talk about the music. Hip-hop blends with orchestral themes. Miles doesn't inherit a theme. He earns one. The soundtrack gives the game its identity. You feel it in combat, you feel it while swinging, and especially in those quiet winter moments. And finally, Uncle Aaron, the Prowler. Coolest suit, worst decisions. Their relationship is the emotional backbone of the entire game. Aaron wants to protect Miles, but his version of protection is control, fear, isolation, locking him in a cage to keep him safe. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it feels real. When Aaron finally does the right thing, that's when Miles truly grows up. So, what's the verdict in 2026? Spider-Man Miles Morales isn't perfect. The villain logic is thin, the dialogue can sting, and the story is short. But this game has something rare. Heart, atmosphere, identity. It took a character many people dismissed and placed him in a city that feels alive, in a season that feels intimate, with stakes that feel personal. Miles Morales was never just another Spider-Man. He was always meant to be his own. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like, comment, and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. So tell me, should I break down the best Miles Morales suits or try some other games? Until next time, keep your mask on and your feet off the ground. Peace.